So Harry Styles has always been pretty ambiguous about his sexuality.
He don't want to claim being queer at all, and he hasn't said that he not straight. It's just like...
But Harry Styles is a public figure. He should make a statement.
Is it fair to try to force him to accuse him of exploiting a community if he does not openly identify as one or the other?
Are we not tired? Because I know I am. Ello Bandannas, Khumo, Markham here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel where people watch me speak about whatever crosses my mind, and I'm okay with that. In today's video, we're discussing the whole Harry Styles queerbaiting discourse because I am so genuinely interested at why this seems to be a never-ending conversation. So, let's dive right in. Now, of course, I have to start by saying what a huge Harry Styles fan I am, okay? I used to be almost lied there. I was never a Harry girl, actually. I was a Zayn girl during the 1D era. Currently, Harry is my third most streamed artist in the past 4 weeks, past 6 months, and my 11th most streamed artist overall. So, there you have the receipts, baby. Anyways, this conversation has been around for years. I feel like we argue about this on Twitter every other month at this point. But what started the recent queerbaiting accusations was an interview that Mr. Styles did with Rolling Stone. Side note, he looked absolutely scrumptious in those images. Mr. Styles was asked a few questions about the whole queerbaiting accusations as well as his upcoming movie, My Policeman. If you didn't know, the movie is basically a film adaptation of the book My Policeman by Pathan Roberts. It's a gay love story and a great, actually an incredible read. So if you get the chance, get your hands on that book immediately. Let's just say the answers that he gave to the questions asked in the kindest way possible were utterly disappointing and left all of us divided yet again. So first, let's start with, what is queerbaiting? Well, originally the term referred to the practice of implying non-heterosexual relationships or attraction in a TV show, for example, to engage or attract an LGBTQ audience or otherwise generate interest without ever depicting such relationships or sexual interactions. A great example of this would have to be Teen Wolf, Styles, and Derek. The chemistry between these two characters led us to believe that we're going to get some sort of romantic relationship towards the end of the show, but we did not, and all we got was fanfics to feed our gay hunger. It was bad for us during the Tumblr days. Critiquing and calling out this practice helped us fight for better representation in the media that we consume, pushing production companies away from alluding to gay relationships to actually showing gay relationships on screen. So while the term initially applied to traditional media, it is now being used on actual public figures. And I have been seeing a few people saying that we cannot apply the term queerbaiting to actual real life people because it just doesn't make sense. And to that I say, have y'all seen Mario Adrian? If you know who that man is, as well as a number of other creators on TikTok, you would know that queerbaiting can apply to real life people as well. But this video is not about that. So applied to real life people, filmmaker and activist Leo Herrera defines it as a celebrity or a public figure capitalizing on the suspicion that they may be LGBTQIA+ or romantically attracted or involved with another person of the same sex for the sake of publicity, promotion, or capitalistic gain. It is essentially a marketing ploy that promises queerness but never delivers queerness. Okay, we promise the slay, but we don't deliver the slay. A number of celebrities have actually been accused of queerbaiting, from the likes of Nick Jonas, Billie Eilish, Ariana Grande, and now recently Bad Bunny and Charlie Puth. But Harry Styles continuously finds himself as the face of the conversation more often than the rest of these celebrities, and that is for a number of reasons. So let's explore that. Now, before we get into it, I just want to say that I am both for and against the argument, and it is going to be clear in how contradictory my points get throughout the video. I did shoot this video before, but editing it, I realized that it was very one-sided and failed to highlight both sides. So this is why we're here again. But let's discuss why the queerbaiting arguments stand and fail at the same time. Since his One Direction days, Harry Styles' sexuality has always been a topic of discussion. He was kind of branded as the ladies' man of the group, so a lot of us assumed he was straight until some of you menace munchkins birthed the idea of Larry Stylinson and ripped his straight identity to shreds. Now, even though Larry was never confirmed by both Harry and Lewis, the fan theory grew to such a huge extent that it became a part of their brand identity. And since we've only seen Harry Styles with women before, a lot of people were starting to speculate that he may be bisexual. Now, when I tell you this bisexual theory skyrocketed, with fans doing all they can to solidify it, from suspecting that he's hinting at his bisexuality by the use of bi-flag colors in his fine line album art, to finding awkward moments between him and Lewis Tomlinson, to even overanalyzing his music videos and song lyrics. People literally started labeling him a bi icon, and that would not be a problem if Harry himself had confirmed that he's bi. But Harry did not do that. Matter of fact, Harry Styles has never ever told us what his sexual orientation actually is. His answers to questions about sexuality are very ambiguous. Like when he said he didn't like labels, or that he hasn't been publicly dating anyone. Just because somebody takes an image of you with somebody, it does not mean that you're dating them. Yeah, Harry. And because of his constant expression of how he does not like labels and wishes people were not fixated on them, people yet again started calling him unlabeled. Do you see how we're kind of the problem here as well? Yeah. Just because Harry Styles does not like labels, it does not mean he is unlabeled, because that is a label in itself and a queer identity. Does Harry Styles owe us his sexuality? No. It is 100% none of our business. And like I've said in my Shawn Mendes video, forcing celebrities to come out is just another form of bullying. And it's very hypocritical, especially coming from us, a community that understands how difficult coming to terms with your sexuality is, how uncomfortable constantly being questioned about your sexuality is, and how terrifying coming out is. And you can imagine how heightened it is when you have millions of eyes on you. But then again, this conversation gets a little bit complex because this is Harry Styles we're talking about. Again, referring back to my Shawn Mendes video, Harry's ambiguous sexuality is of huge benefit to him. By not clarifying if he's straight or not, he gets to keep both his queer and straight audience engaged with his artistry at the same time. And by coding himself slightly in queerness, he still gets to rope in a queer audience while still being palatable to the majority straight audience. I personally do not have a problem with this because we do live in the 21st century. We are actively trying to put toxic masculinity behind us by allowing and encouraging more men to be free in how they choose to express themselves. So we as the queer community policing people on how they express themselves can come across as a little bit hypocritical. However, the issue comes in when a potentially cis-het white man starts entering queer spaces and getting credited for things that queer people have been doing for decades. It is arguable as to whether Harry Styles does this intentionally or not. For example, Harry Styles is known for dressing very feminine. Even though clothing is just clothing, unfortunately, we still live in a society that genders clothing, so we have to acknowledge that. So because he wears skirts and dresses, crop tops, and paints his nails from time to time, he started getting a lot of praise in the media. And the conversation around non-binary fashion was being credited to him, like the whole thing is new and was pioneered by Harry. While this is not particularly Harry's fault, as media outlets have been guilty of doing this for years with artists like David Bowie, it is kind of Harry Styles' fault for not using that attention to highlight communities that actually pioneered gender nonconformity. Billy Porter actually raised this, but later on had to apologize because it was not received well, even though he just said what most of us were thinking. A lot of queer people also seem to be upset by the observation of Harry Styles only wearing feminine clothes for photo shoots or sometimes even on tour, but never in his personal life. It just seems like he queers up his appearance, gets publicity, and then goes back to being a traditional man. Kind of like a performative queerness. And he's privileged enough to do this without any real life repercussions because of his fame and power. Whereas there are queer people who don't actually have that privilege, because we still live in a world today where people literally get killed for expressing their true selves. Harry also seems to be very out of touch with the community that he's being attached to. I mean, his comments about how much gay sex in film is just two guys going at it, which takes away the tenderness from it, really made it clear to me. And I just want to know what kind of gay films Mr. Styles has been exposed to. Because from the likes of Call Me By Your Name, Brokeback Mountain, Morris, God's Own Country even, tenderness seems to be the main theme, with proper gay sex rarely being shown. As a man who constantly rejects labels, it's not really his place to be voicing his opinions about gay sex unless he confirms that he's actually done it himself. This is where his ambiguous sexuality proves to be an issue as well, because he's literally about to cement himself in gay culture by starring in what could possibly be one of the biggest gay movies we've ever had with My Policeman. And judging from what I've seen with Don't Worry Darling, yes, I have watched the film, Harry is not the best actor, let's just say that. And his role in My Policeman could have easily gone to a more talented, openly gay actor. Jonathan Bailey comes to mind. Another one would have to be the whole labels talk that he keeps bringing up. We queer people understand that as much as we despise labels and despise having to come out when straight people don't have to, we live in a world where that is not a possibility yet. Labels mean so much to some members of our community. It is how they liberate themselves and inform others of their identity. So for you to state that defining our sexuality is outdated can come across like you lack awareness of contemporary LGBTQIA+ issues. But also, it can be argued that it's important to have a public figure like Harry Styles actively work towards dismantling the idea of labels to push us more to an ideal world where labels do not matter. So you can really look at this whole thing as Harry doing good or Harry being out of touch. Overall, I don't think that we queer people are gatekeeping queer aesthetics by constantly calling out celebrities for queer baiting. And we could speak on how queerness does not necessarily have a look and cannot be bottled, which is true, but also we're grown up, so, you know, let's be real. We just need celebrities to be aware of their platforms and what their image promotes. We need them to engage with the LGBTQIA+ community in a meaningful way. But it's also important to note that famous people are still people at the end of the day, and their privacy should be respected. They also need to understand that pandering to certain communities or certain audiences will come with certain questions that will need to be answered. And I just want to call out the queer community real quickly. I think we should stop labeling random celebrities gay icons, then get shocked when they do something that does not align with what a gay icon should be doing. Instead, we should be giving that whole gay icon title to actually openly queer celebrities that actively speak on LGBTQIA+ issues. I also need us to understand that it's okay for people, public figure or not, to not have their sexual identities or sexual orientations figured out yet. We understand that it's a lifelong journey. Also, is it such a bad thing to have a gender non-conforming celebrity like Harry Styles? I mean, his queerness adds to his artistry and it's working for him, so bravo. And we still get to see a portion of ourselves in a big figure like him, so, you know, good is accomplished. So frankly, this conversation is not going to end with a clear answer, but I just want us to know that the next time this comes up again, it's very important for all of us to lend an ear on what other people are saying. And just because you have made your conclusions on the matter, it does not mean you cannot learn some more. I sometimes feel like he's queerbaiting, and sometimes I don't feel that way. Well, I love Harry. I just wish he would properly address these allegations. Just get it over and done with, man. And we have reached the end of our video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something from it. And as usual, I really would like to hear from you, and I will leave all of my sources down below. Okay, so go check them out. I love you guys, and I will see you guys in the next one. Remember, if you do not slay, then you do not stay. And go stream Harry's house. Bye.